Before we start, take a moment to like and subscribe. From the moment he was a boy, the older brother understood his place in the world, though everyone just called him the big brother. He was the first to rise with the sun, his small hands already reaching for a hoe as the morning light crept across the fields. While other children played, he learned the language of the land. He knew the precise moment to sow a seed, the subtle shift in the wind that signaled a change in the weather, and the rich, earthy scent that promised a bountiful harvest. His life was a slow, deliberate rhythm of seasons and soil, of hard work and quiet satisfaction. The farm wasn't just a place he lived, it was an extension of himself, his hands and heart intertwined with every furrowed row and every sturdy olive tree. His love for the farm was as deep as the well they drew water from. He found a profound comfort in what was known and certain. He was a partner to his father, a sturdy anchor for the family's farm. His presence a constant, reassuring hum in the background of their lives. He loved the smell of the rich soil, the feel of the sun on his face, and the quiet, predictable rhythm of the seasons. His younger brother, on the other hand, was different. He was full of wild dreams and restless energy, always talking about a world beyond their fields. He saw the horizon not as a boundary, but as an invitation. While the older brother found meaning in stability, his younger brother craved adventure. His inheritance was his responsibility, trust, a legacy, and a source of deep pride. He had always known he would stay, protecting what his family had built, honoring the quiet promise he felt in his bones. The day his younger brother walked up to their father and demanded his share of the inheritance was a day he would never forget. It was a normal day, a Thursday filled with the steady rhythm of farm life, but with a single jarring sentence, it was forever altered. "Give me my share of the property that falls to me," his brother said, his voice laced with a cold, almost detached impatience. He, who had been fixing a broken fence post, froze. The sound of his hammer hitting would cease. All the small, comforting noises of the farm seemed to vanish, replaced by the ringing of those few terrible words. It wasn't just a request for money. It was a public statement, a profound dismissal of everything he held dear. It felt like his brother was tearing a page from their family's history, a page he had spent his entire life writing. He watched in stunned silence as his father, his strong, unwavering father, looked at their younger son with a mixture of sorrow and weary resignation. He didn't argue, he didn't protest, he simply agreed. He felt a coldness spread through his chest, a feeling of being betrayed by both of them. He saw his younger brother's face light up with a reckless, joyful abandon as he was handed a heavy sack of gold and silver. It was the same reckless spirit that had gotten his brother out of trouble time and time again, a charm that had always been indulged, and now it was costing them half of their future. His own years of selfless labor suddenly felt foolish and naive. A few days later, his brother was gone. There was no grand farewell, no heartfelt goodbye, just a cloud of dust on the horizon, a visual of the world slipping away from the farm. The older brother said nothing. He simply went back to the fields and worked even harder, the quiet rage and hurt growing like a stubborn weed inside his heart. Every time he picked up a tool, it was a reminder of the brother who had left it behind, a symbol of the duty he had abandoned. Every time he worked late, it was a debt owed to the one who had walked away so easily. He told himself it didn't matter, that he didn't care, but the emptiness on the farm was a constant, aching pain. He felt like a fool for being the one who stayed, the one who worked, while his brother was out exploring the world with a bag of money that was half of his own future. His loyalty, which had once felt like a source of pride, now felt like a heavy chain. The silence that fell over the farm in his absence was heavier than any conversation. It was the silence of a home that had lost a piece of its heart, and he was left to live within that echoing void. The years that followed were a long, grinding blur of work and quiet sacrifice. The younger brother was a ghost, a name they didn't speak. But his absence was a constant, almost physical presence. The work that was once shared between two sons now fell entirely on him. He was up before dawn, his calloused hands already reaching for the plow. He meticulously fixed every fence, tended to every crop, and cared for every animal. He took on more responsibility than any man should, carrying the full, unyielding weight of the farm on his shoulders. The farm prospered under his care, its fields growing richer, its harvest more abundant. But the joy was gone. It was no longer a labor of love. It was just a job, a grim procession of one day to the next. The sun rose and set, the seasons passed, and each day was a replica of the last. It began to feel less like a choice and more like a life sentence. The fields, once a source of deep satisfaction, became a physical representation of his quiet rage. The furrows he plowed were lines of his frustration, and the seeds he sowed were planted with the cold, bitter hope that his efforts would be recognized. He began to feel like a servant in his own home. He would watch his father sit on the porch, staring at the empty road, and a bitter question would form in his mind. Does he even notice? Does he even care? Does he appreciate my loyalty? He never asked. He believed his actions should speak for themselves, that his unwavering hard work was all the proof of his love that was needed. But as the years turned, he began to feel utterly invisible. As if he were just a part of the landscape, like one of the old olive trees that was always there but never celebrated. The weight of his unspoken feelings became a heavy, corrosive cloak. He felt a deep, festering resentment towards the brother who had walked away so easily, and a quiet, simmering bitterness toward the father who, in his unending grief, seemed to have forgotten the son who was still there. The farm became a tomb for his emotions, with each furrow he plowed and each seed he planted burying a little more of his silent rage. He didn't just work the land, he worked his pain into the very soil. His hands, once strong with purpose, now felt calloused from the unending labor and the emotional armor he had built around himself. One normal afternoon, just like any other. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, but he barely noticed. He was out in the field, his arms thick with muscle, his mind focused on the harvest. He felt the familiar ache in his back, a constant companion that reminded him of his unwavering dedication. Then he heard a sound so out of place that it pulled him from his trance. It was the faint, lively music of a party, a cheerful tune that drifted on the wind. He ignored it and kept working, convincing himself it was a neighbor's celebration. But as he got closer to the house, the noise became a roar of laughter and singing, the sound of unrestrained joy. There was light and commotion everywhere. He saw servants running back and forth, and a huge crowd of people gathered in their courtyard. His stomach tightened with a cold, unsettling premonition. Puzzled and apprehensive, he called out to a servant. "What is all this for?" he asked, his voice sharp with confusion. The servant grinned, a joyful look on his face. "Your brother has come home. Your father has killed the fattened calf and is throwing a party, because he has returned safe and sound." The words hit him like a physical blow, a punch to the gut. All the years of silent work, the bitterness he had pushed down, came rushing to the surface. He felt hot, raw anger and a deep, aching unfairness. The fattened calf, the one that had been reserved for a great feast, was being used for him? For the brother who had abandoned them and wasted his money on who knows what? The celebration was a slap in the face, a public declaration that his faithfulness was worth less than his brother's failure. A wave of emotions crashed over him: betrayal, rage, and the profound, humiliating pain of being overlooked. He felt a fire in his veins. He thought of every backbreaking day he had endured, every night he had worked late to keep the farm running, and every moment he had longed for a simple word of thanks from his father. This was his reward, a party for the one who had caused all the pain. He refused to go inside. He couldn't. All the work, all the loneliness, all the loyalty he had given suddenly felt meaningless. His face hardened into a mask of stone as he stood just outside the circle of light and laughter, a world away from the joy inside.